Welcome to Never a Dull Moment with Mr. Robert and Howard. I'm out here today. It's a beautiful morning. We've worked a little bit this morning, fed up the animals, and we're taking a little break and show you one of our favorite spots to sit and chill and take a little break. Dad's already out here. It's our favorite tree. This is where Fred and Carlos sleep most of the time, up in the tops of these oak trees. Of course, Dad's out here in his favorite spot with Shasta. Let's see what he's got going on. What you got going on this morning?
Well, I done got up, fed all the chickens, peacocks and everything, watered Mama's flowers. I've been kind of under the weather, had a little bit of sinus problem, but I'm feeling better now. And thought before I got my day started, I'd sit out here and think about what I was going to do. And I got to thinking about back when I was a kid, what me and my dad used to do. I didn't play sports. I never was much on sports, but fished. Me and my dad fished a lot. He worked at an international paper company, and when he'd get off in the afternoons, before he ever turned the truck off coming home, he'd back up there and we'd hook up to the boat. We'd either go out to Bangs Island. That was a favorite fishing spot for most of the people that lived on the Gulf Coast down there. We lived right next to the coast on the river. We lived on the river. The coast wasn't but just a few miles away. So we'd either go out there and catch speckled trout or white trout, or we'd go up the river. We'd catch a few shell crackers, or we'd fly fish. My dad was a fly fisherman, and he taught me how to fly fish. That was back before trolling motors, or at least we couldn't afford one. It was about $25 or $30 then. We couldn't afford one, so we paddle. I'd paddle him for a while, he'd fish. He'd paddle me a while, and I'd fish. That's how I grew up fishing. Well, certain times of the year, in the spring of the year when the water would get up a little bit, my daddy liked to catfish. We'd either set limb lines or we'd stretch a trot line across the river. Trot line, you stretch it from one bank to the other bank, put some weights out in the middle, put you a hook every 8 or 10 feet apart, and let it sit out there overnight and come back the next morning, run it, and you see what you have on your line. Well, we'd been camping up there on the river, and we'd frog gig that night and got us a few frogs. We cooked them and eat them for breakfast. And so we was out there now, we running this trot line. Had a little old wooden batty boat, a little 9.9 Johnson on the back end of it. So I was back there with the motor. My daddy was up on the bow of the boat. Got over here to the bank. He'd pick the lines up. He'd be a bait gone. He'd bait that hook up, and we was going on out across the river. We got out there about 25 or 30 feet. The river was about, I don't know, 45 or 50 yards wide right there where we was at. And he said, "Boy, I feel something on there, son. There's something on this line out there. You could feel a fish, you know, if it was a pretty good sized fish on out there a few hooks away from you." So he kept going on out there, and he'd take a little fish off, or he'd bait an empty hook or something. We got on out there, and something, all of a sudden, that line come kind of floating up to the top, and there was something out there huge. I don't know what it was, but he made a big swirl in the water, and he come off of the hook. Daddy said, "I lost it." But whatever it was started swimming toward the bank on the other side. There was a big sandbar on the other side of the bank over there, right where we had the other end of the line tied up. So he said, "Hand me that frog gig." He had that frog gig in the boat, and I handed it to Daddy, and I had a motor running, just idling, so I put it in gear, and we easing across there, and Daddy's getting ready to gig him. I was getting ready to gig him. That was a phone call, I'm sorry. One of my salt customers, I'll give him a call back. But anyway, Daddy was getting ready to gig him, and he speeded up, and he got to the sandbar on the other side. Well, the thing went out of the water and started running across the sandbar. Well, Daddy jumps out of the boat, and he's chasing this thing, and he's getting ready to gig him, and he got over there to the edge of the woods, and he clumb a tree. I don't know what it was. Whatever it was, he was big. So Daddy hears Daddy going up the tree after this thing, trying to catch it. And just as he got to the top and ready to grab a hold of it, he flew off. We never did figure out what that was. Never have seen another one since. Don't have a clue what it was, and nobody's seen one either. So that's just a little fishing story here this morning. You can believe that or not. It might have happened.
He's full of crap.
And that might just been a story that my daddy told. Have a great day.